Good afternoon, Parks and Recreation Commission and Open Space Conservancy Trust board members. It's Jessie Bond, your city manager, and I'm checking in here on Friday, October 29th. If you've had a moment, probably not, to check your inboxes, you just received your packets for next week's meeting. The trust, next week's meetings, I should say. The trust is meeting on Wednesday and the Parks and Rec Commission is meeting on Thursday. This is one of those packets where we sent out a lot of technical information. So before you dive into it, I wanted to just give you a quick orientation to the materials that you received on the Capital Improvement Program. So for the trust members, Exhibit 1 in your packet is the project list that you see here on the screen. And for the Parks and Rec Commission members, it's Exhibit 3. This is the 6-year proposed Parks CIP project list. So for those of you that saw the draft we released in early October, these are all the same projects. They're just broken down into subcategories now. So for example, athletic fields is a subcategory, beaches and shorelines is a subcategory. The project numbers are listed here. I'll show you what that relates to in a minute, the location, and then the description of the project. Across here, you have your project expenditure estimates. And here's what I'll tell you, if you saw the earlier version, the project estimates were not escalated yet. This, all of our spreadsheets now include 3% inflation escalators per year. The other thing these spreadsheets are doing, in case you're wondering, is they're rounding up to the nearest 1,000 in almost all cases. And that's just because these are planning level cost estimates. So it's not possible at this stage to get down to the dollar. Everything totals to the right and subtotals here. And then at the very bottom of this spreadsheet, I'll scroll down. We have total estimated expenditures. So for this proposed CIP over the 6-year period of 2023 to 2028, the estimated expenditures is $41.5 million. Okay, the next spreadsheet in your packet gets just a little bit more detailed. For those of you on the trust, this is Exhibit 2 in your pros plan packet, and the Parks and Rec Commissioners, this is Exhibit 4. So thinking about those subcategories I just talked about, this spreadsheet also now includes the associated revenue projections for each category. So here we are, we're looking at athletic fields again as our example. These are the projects we just saw in the previous document, and they now include a corresponding revenue estimate. In the case of, let's pick a project here, Island Crest Park, the South Field Lights Replacement and Turf Upgrade. The number is PA0116. That project happens to have dedicated revenue associated with it, and that's reflected down here. The tricky thing about capital programs is the revenue, some of the revenue is restricted. It has to be applied to certain projects. So we've built a spreadsheet that allowed us to track our revenues that way. So using PA0116 as an example, down here you'll see there are 2 projected revenue items associated with that project, $80,000 in 2026 and $200,000 in 2026. There's a formula, complicated formula running in the background of these spreadsheets. It's keeping track of all of the expenditures and revenues. But I wanted you to know that you can now look by category. So let's skip ahead a page at the estimated expenses and now the revenues. So beaches and shoreline projects, here again, you have the expenditures running across the top and the associated projected revenue at the bottom. One thing I'll point out is you get to the beaches and shorelines category, the Luther Burbank Dock project, for example, is anticipating a number of grants. So where you see these acronyms, you may not know what they are. Those are most likely a grant that the project is eligible for. At the very end of the spreadsheet, we total it all up, estimated expenditures, estimated revenues, and how we anticipate to end each year and the end of the 6-year period. You will note the CIP is not balanced, and we'll be talking about that at the meetings next week and what that means. All right, let's take a look at the next spreadsheet in your packet. This is just a revenue summary. So we basically took the spreadsheet you saw just a moment ago, and we summarized all of the different types of revenues. So real estate excise tax, you often see that abbreviated as REIT, is summed across this line. The King County Parks Levy is here. We combined all the grants and totaled that here. This just gives you an idea of where the various revenue sources are coming from. The next spreadsheet, similar theme. We've compressed all of the categories just to give you a high-level snapshot of the expenditures and revenue and how each of the categories nets out. So again, here you have athletic fields, beaches and shorelines. You keep scrolling, open space and trails. And at the very end, again, the same totals, expenditures, revenues, and how we expect to net out each year and at the end of the 6-year period. All right, I hope that helps explain a little bit more about what's in your packet. These are PDFs of what I will admit are very complicated spreadsheets with formulas that are driving all of these calculations. I'd be more than happy to share that spreadsheet with you. I'll just tell you it's not very user-friendly. I will be working on a calculator to share with all of you on Monday so that you can toggle the projects up and down on your own. One final reminder, all of the projects come from this document, which we've been working on a bit the last couple of months. This is the capital facilities plan, or what we also call the 20-year project list. This is essentially the repository of all of the projects or potential projects in our park system over the next 20 years. So if you're looking for more information on a project, the numbers are here. The project location is here, the title, and a more detailed description is here. The cost estimates are here in 2021 dollars. And remember, when you're looking at the spreadsheets that I was just walking you through, those numbers are now inflated. And finally, to the right of this spreadsheet is a rating tool that we developed to help us score and evaluate the projects. I will remind you, it's just a tool. It's not the sole decider of what projects make it to the park's 6-year CIP. In fact, many of the projects, particularly the trails projects, don't score that high, but they came out as a high priority for our community. We heard that in our public meetings and from our survey. And so we did recommend moving them to the 6-year CIP list. Again, I hope that helps you understand the materials that are in your packet just a little bit better. This is a fairly technical packet. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We'll be presenting to both the Trust and the Parks and Rec Commission this week with our presentation will include an overview of the projects, how we reached our revenue assumptions, and what to make of the fact that the CIP is unbalanced. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next week. Have a great weekend and happy Halloween.